How you guys doing? I'm Bronson and
And I'm Christian White.
and welcome to our podcast, the Bronson and Christian Talk.
Well, we're on the first episode here.
Yeah, the first actually is the second. Technically, the first one I guess was like the introduction.
Yep.
To who we are, a little bit.
Introduction.
Yeah, it was like a 12-minute introduction of kind of who we are and where we want to go with the podcast and what we want to talk about. We'll have guests later down the line, probably in our next podcast actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I know you've got a handful of people tied up. Bronson has, and I have quite a bit of people as well that we can interview. People from all facets of life,
all genres. I mean, from real estate to MMA to a mom of 5 or 6 kids.
People out of prison.
I better call up some family members then. No,
Hey, there you go.
but no, seriously, yeah. So that was kind of a little bit of intro. And today I definitely want to like get into more about who we both are, and then we can kind of like go from there. So if you want to go ahead and give a little.
Yeah, and to preface, Bronson and I talked about, hey, let's do something scripted here. Scripted in the sense of what topics we're going to talk about and cover. And then, typically I like to be prepared. With
So do I.
I've kind of had a shift in my mindset. However, I'm more of the opinion now. Let's just roll. So anyhow, I'm originally from Central California, the Clovis area, and went to Fresno State. Was in the Navy for a bit, and after that, transitioned into commercial real estate. Went down south to Orange County for a period of time as a lender. Co-founded a social group and authored a book, The Fast Lane of Building Relationships. And then I have basically been splitting my time between Newport Beach and Clovis, California.
Right.
And I'm the best I've felt. I wasn't feeling as good going back 5-6 months ago with the way the business that I was involved in was headed.
Right.
But I'm in a much better headspace. And I love what we're working on here, and I'm very optimistic about this year. Right.
So how do you feel about being back in Fresno, though, in Clovis area? Actually, you're in Clovis. So how do you feel being back in Clovis? Like, is there a huge difference from Newport and Fresno, or Clovis, I should say?
Is there a difference? Absolutely. And what's funny is I always have people ask me, well, how come you moved? How come you... So the social group I had, that was the main thing I was focused on, and recognizing that, hey, from a financial perspective, it wasn't quite what I had anticipated. Then again, like a lot of businesses, it takes time.
It takes time,
and I guess you'd call it being impatient or whatever. But from a social perspective, it was a big success.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly, I enjoyed it. Honestly, there were so many amazing people, and I got connections over there. I made some great acquaintances over there and relationships. So there's a lot of great people. It's an amazing thing that is down there in Newport.
It really is. But so how do I feel now? I didn't think I'd feel the way I do now, or I did at the time. But actually, I really like splitting my time between the two, because on the one hand, it's great being in a place like Orange County, specifically Newport, where you can meet a lot of people who are very driven, very focused, very successful. It's obviously very beautiful down there, but it's also really nice enjoying the Clovis / Fresno.
Slower pace.
It's more quaint. It's not a keeping up with the Joneses. It's a very middle America, fill in the blank place, and your buck goes a lot further, especially for those of you who are in real estate who are interested in it. Right. So, but I've been enjoying it. I've been having a blast. I'm going down there once a month and keeping in touch with a lot of the relationships that I have.
That's awesome, man. And you still do real estate too, right? Is that something that you still do?
So I'm still doing it as a real estate investor.
Right.
I'm actually looking at acquiring a property within a 30-mile radius of Yosemite. I'm looking at maybe doing a mixed use.
It's beautiful out that way.
It is. And what I think is really cool, I was actually on a podcast the other day.
Oh, how'd that go?
It actually went really well.
Awesome.
It actually I really enjoyed it. So I appreciate Andrew and Vince for having us on.
What's the name of their podcast? Do you remember?
Let me get back to you on that. God, he's putting me on the spot right
You're
here.
gonna have to edit that part.
Yeah,
I thought you knew.
no, it's all good.
It's all good. Blooper.
Anyhow, yeah, blooper too. Yeah. Anyhow, no, it went great. And actually, what I'm looking to do, which is different, not that it's per se original, but everyone, when it comes to property, they're trying to buy a home and put somebody in there or rent by the room, which has been the latest thing in the last few years,
Right.
or doing some type of buying an apartment complex. Everyone and their mom wants to do that. Anyone who's got a buck.
That's really big.
However, it's so freaking congested. And just as I have been proselytizing and sharing
Right.
with everybody, it's about focusing on the things that other people aren't doing or don't want to do. And I'm
Right.
focused on basically a model where it's zoned for basically mixed use.
Right.
So I can put tiny homes on the property. I can leverage agricultural tax credits that exist.
Right.
As a lot of other not that I'm a Bon Jovi or a Bruce Springsteen, but these guys have been using these tax credits for years on their estates. So really excited about it.
Yeah. Can you maybe give
Yeah.
us a little rundown of how you would actually have that set up for like the home where you
Yeah.
have the individuals in there? You just have one per room, or how are you going to do
Yeah.
that?
So what I'm looking to do is acquire a property that already has a home on it. It's on a few acres, and again,
Right.
the zoning allows for me to have various businesses on there.
Right.
So I'd get a place, I fill it up by the room as I had been doing with my current property. Thankfully, knock on wood, to great success.
Right.
And so immediately, I already have the expenses covered. And then on top of that, if people have tiny homes they can put on the property, I can build a tiny home or go buy one and go put it on the property. Now that's other sources of revenue.
Right.
Then if I put, for example, not that I have a background in ag or with bees, but you put bees on a part of the property, you can lower your tax basis.
Got it.
Or if you put like poultry, I mean, you showed Uncle Sam. Again, obviously, I'm not a CPA by any
Right.
means, although I wish I'd had that background. When you showed Uncle Sam, hey, I'm producing an income from this, and then you can write that off.
Right.
There's deductions and such. Right. And then storage, if people need to store boats because you're near Bass Lake or you're near
Right.
Millerton Lake, or people have horses, you're allocating parts of the land
Right.
for to generate revenue.
Right. You're making use of the property.
You can get a barn that's
Right.
old
Right.
and convert it and charge people, several $1,000s to do their
Right.
micro wedding or something.
Right. I think, honestly, and I've told him before, I think it's an amazing thing that he's doing. I think it's great. We've talked about how there is a housing crisis. I mean, things are so expensive.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's the inflation. I mean, it's just really, really bad.
I received so many messages for a post I did. So one of the things I like to do, this is a tip for those of you who are real estate inclined. Before I'm going to go pull the trigger on a property, I put an ad out there, whether it's roomies.com, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, et cetera,
Right.
letting people know that I'm looking at providing, a room or a house or fill in the blank for rent. And I let them know that it's 6 to 10 weeks out,
Right.
and it allows me to gauge appetite before I pull the trigger on something. So that way, I don't buy it, and then I'm having
It's like, what am I going to do now?
Exactly.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I do, and so as it relates to that, that the housing. I had 103 messages I received on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
103 messages. I felt so overwhelmed with the influx of messages, and I like to think I'm a pretty respectful person. I try
Right.
to get back. I was just like, no, I'm going to wait a few days to get back to people.
Got a little overwhelming.
I couldn't believe how many people had reached out. It was insane.
Right.
And people are willing to rent by the bed.
Yeah, that's how bad it's getting.
By
right
the
now.
bed.
That's how bad it's getting. So, I mean,
Sharing a room.
Hey, if you
Market
gotta,
rate.
If you have to share a room, I mean, you got to share a room.
Yeah.
You got to do what you have to do
Yeah.
nowadays, man. Some people, you can't be beggars, can't be choosers, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people are in predicaments where, you know what, I have to do this for a year or two.
Yeah.
I got to sacrifice. But a lot of people don't want to do that at the same time, though. And that's what, we can talk about more about that. But I think it's awesome what you're doing, man.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I think it's so great. But yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying Clovis. I'm glad that you have multiple things you're into, and then going back and forth from Newport to Clovis. I mean, like you said, it's a good switch up. I'm from Fresno, which Clovis and Fresno, North Fresno, Okay, because I know people who are from Fresno be like, "Oh, Fresno's so ghetto."
Yeah.
North
Yeah,
Fresno,
yeah, yeah.
all right. North Fresno North Fresno and Clovis are like the same thing, literally.
Yeah.
Like I used to live on the border, and like I literally can just throw a football to Willow. I used to live off Willow Nice right there. So and then Willow next to it is Clovis, and then the other side is Fresno. But yeah, it has such a bad rap. It really does.
It does. You know, it hurts my heart because I'm born and raised in Fresno.
Right.
And the assumption was when I was down south is, oh, you're from Newport or from
Right.
the blank, and
Right.
and there's actually a lot of transplants in
Oh, really?
There's a lot of transplants. But yeah, to your point, I don't want to cut you off, but yeah, it really does. I've actually been an advocate of rebranding.
Yeah, I
Just get
love
rid of the
Fresno.
name.
I mean, because where we're at right now is technically Madera Ranchos. So I have a house in Madera Ranchos, and to me, it's Fresno, North Fresno, because half of Fresno, I know so many people that live here.
Yeah.
So my parents, my brother, friends, people from my son's schools, his buddies, like a lot of people live over here. But I like it. It's beautiful out here.
Mm-hmm. It is very scenic.
I mean, yeah, the scenic is just amazing. I mean, you literally can see Table Mountain from here.
Yep.
It's so clear. But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So for me, my background is just a tad different. I mean, I am from Fresno, born and raised. Obviously, the last episode I said I had two sons, Drake and Theseus. I went to college for just a couple years. I was gonna go.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Look at this.
I learned something new.
Learned something new. So I did go to college. I was going for nutrition and health, and then I was going to try to get a minor in art because I always loved drawing and stuff like that. So I was really passionate about it, and I'm not really into it as much, but I should get back into it. But I'm like, I'm going to take a break. Bad idea, because not even a year later, met my son's mom at the club. 2 months later, found out she was pregnant. Had two awesome kids later down the line. So, but yeah, then I was.
You do have really awesome kids.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah,
I'm actually like, wow, like you have a lot on your shoulders.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And the business and the kids, etc.
Yep.
And I've always been really impressed with Bronson's kids, how polished they are.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, anybody out there who's a single parent or just a parent in general, it's very difficult. I tell people it doesn't get easier. You just kind of get used to the bullshit, right? So with just life, whether you have a baby daddy, I hate saying that, sounds ghetto, or a baby mama, but it's good to establish a good rapport with them to make it easier for the children. You got to put your pride aside and how you feel, because it's what's best for them, not what's best for you. So that's very selfish. The kids didn't ask to be in this world, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to make it as pleasant as possible, and it can be challenging. Especially if the two parents have different views. So I had my first son when I was 22. And, it's been a roller coaster since then, with just a lot of different things, ups, downs, and all arounds. And, but I was going for nutrition and health, and then that happened. I never obviously went back to college. And then I was a personal trainer for 8 to 10 years. And I was always in health and nutrition. And then I just started dabbling at different places, kind of a little bit more deeper. So my son's mom and I split 2017, and kind of like pull out the world's smallest violin, right? Mm-hmm. But
they sell those,
Yeah. So I'll put a little personal stuff out there. So I went to my brother's destination wedding in Cabo, had the best time of my life, and they stayed back because I think there's school and stuff and other things. Come back, she broke up with me.
Oh, shit.
But the week prior, lost my job. So I lost my job, lost technically my family. And then obviously I said, you can keep the place. She wasn't from here. She's like an hour and a half away. So I was like, you can just keep it and I'll figure it out. So, it was really hard for a couple years. I had to live with my parents. I didn't know where to go. I had no job. And keep in mind, I'm 30. I just about to turn 30 at this time, And so that's why it's never too late to be successful and to just go for your dreams. Because prior to that, I had like the typical family. I had a nice townhome, backyard, 2-car garage. I had my sons, my little family. And then boom, no job, no family, no place to sleep. Like everything was just, I was sleeping on the ground for 6 months with my sons. And then I was sleeping on their couch because I ended up losing 2 jobs when I was living with them. So I was sleeping on a couch for like almost about 2 years.
Wow.
So I just couldn't.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, I just felt like I couldn't get out of the struggle. Like I felt like, man, this is not it. Like my life can't be like this. There's no way, you know. So it's called like having a sack, okay? And you just man up, and you know you got to compartmentalize, and you got to just have your moment in your time. But then you just got to move forward, because I have 2 young little guys that are looking up to their dad to, like, you know, help, you know. So I got myself in the rut, started my own business, quit my job, started my own business, like I said in the last podcast that we had, and it's just been going up from there, starting up these multiple other things going on, and, you know, life is just good. You know, I had a relationship during that time, the moment I moved out. Note to self, don't move out and buy a place and get a girlfriend at the same time. Enjoy your place for a little bit. You know,
yes, that's right.
We moved in. Yep. She moved in with me. I couldn't even enjoy
this is Millbrook, right?
Yeah, like bad idea. So that's like a whole nother thing.
I have my own story. I was engaged.
I was never engaged. Just FYI, I was never engaged. Like I was with the mother of my children for 8 years off and on. It was unfortunate, you know. We get along now, but it was really bad. And then the other relationship I was in after that, when I moved into my place, it was pretty bad. But she was an amazing person to my sons, and I learned a lot. Right? Anything bad, you got to take the positive out of it. Right?
You always learn more from something that didn't materialize than you do from everything going according to plan.
100%. And then you should learn from it.
Yeah.
I feel like half the time I don't. Right? I think as human beings, we just sometimes we just subconsciously don't know. We kind of like the struggle. We like the bullshit sometimes, I guess, because we're all human. We make mistakes. Sometimes the same mistake over and over, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And it's like, okay, what am I doing? You just become a crash dummy, and you keep doing the same stuff over and over again. So that's what happened to me in the situation I was in, losing my jobs. You know, I just felt kind of like hopeless. Why? My son's mom had a family already. You know, ended up having a baby, got married, had their own house, and I'm over here living with my parents, just broke, jobless. Like, what the heck happened to me?
But see, that's where I think, you know, context comes in terms of you're a man, and the expectation that society has, at least in 2024 still, is the onus is on you to provide, to be the breadwinner, so on and so forth. And so I think for men, I mean, this is obviously, you know, you can go and talk about this for hours, but the crisis that men are going through today.
Oh, there's,
it's insane.
I mean, for a guy, there's so many, you know, it is a sensitive topic too, right? So like for guys, there's these expectations that a man has to have. You gotta have some type of wealth, some type of success.
6 feet tall, 6-pack.
Guys, I'm not 6 feet tall.
That.
I'm not 6 feet tall, but I feel like I'm okay.
He's like 16 feet tall.
This dude. My confidence level is, that's for sure. So, but yeah, so, you know, with men, it definitely is kind of hard to, I'm not trying to meet anybody's expectations except my own, which is to be successful, to be the best that I can be, and just be happy at the end of the day. Normality. I don't need to be a billionaire. You know, I just want to be happy. And I'm doing actually quite good for myself. I'm happy, you know. I have no complaints. You know, I could complain, but you know, it's pointless. You know, it's wasted energy. But
there's so much of that out there.
Yeah, and
people bitching and moaning.
Right, and it's okay to vent and talk and stuff. And I know me and Christian will sometimes have like 2-hour conversations. But it's good. It's good feedback. You know, he'll talk to me about business. I'll talk to him about business, or you know, something we're going through. It's just, but that's kind of like almost what us men need is, you know. Look, I come from a dad that you're fine, get up, shut the hell up, you'll get over it. And I'm all about it now too. Like I'm glad he did that, because it really, you know, turned me into the man I am today. But at the same time, I took what I need, how my dad was to me, and disposed of what I don't think I should do with my sons. You know, like I don't really whoop the crap out of my kids or do anything like that.
But you don't?
Nah, I mean, sometimes I chain them, you know, by their ankles and hold them upside down and use them as a punching bag. But joking aside, no, you know, there has to be discipline, right? But there has to be a balance. But yeah, back to what I was saying about, for men, there's all these high expectations.
Yeah.
And then there's all these women, or I should say girls, that like, you don't have this type of car, you don't have this type of house, you don't make this much money. I'm like, well, what the hell are you providing? This, you can figure that out yourself, comes easy for me. I don't need that. What I need is this, and I need is this, right? I want a connection with someone. Now, if you have money and if you come from a good background, great. A lot of people don't, unfortunately. A lot of people do come from broken homes. A lot of people do come from, poverty. But I'll give you an example of why none of that shit should bring down who you end up becoming. You should end up being a great person from those struggles, right? Like me, I went through all this crap and I got myself out. No one's going to save you.
Yep.
No one's going to save you. Even if people gave you money, you're probably going to burn right through it. So you have to know how to manage, your mental first. Like I said, compartmentalize whatever you're going through and then continue forward. So, but long story short, it is really hard for a guy sometimes, I feel like. And like I said, the woe is me shit, I think it can be hard for girls too. I mean, there's that whole thing out there, after 30, pretty much that girl's no good. I see a lot of other podcasts and I'm like, there's a lot of quality people out there. But if you're over 30, you ain't making much money, you have 20 kids and you ain't doing much with yourself, you don't take care of yourself, I'm kind of agreeing with those guys out there. You got to bring something to the table, just not, debt and 30 kids. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example. Shout out to Adriana, who we're going to get on the podcast soon. She has a few kids. I kind of make fun of her in a good way. I'm like, she got a basketball team plus a sub. You know what I mean? So, but she's an amazing person. She's an amazing mom. She's a crazy hard worker. And, I can't wait till she's able to share some of that when she comes on. And, but she brings things to the table. She's just not like, oh, I have kids. And she don't need anybody. She's a hustler. And, you have to be. You can't rely on anybody. You got to rely on yourself.
And there's something to be said about that had me thinking. I've been fortunate. I've had people ask, "You come from money, you have from this," and money is relative, right? I mean, right. I've got buddies, or I know people who grew up extremely wealthy, and people who came from modest means or whatever. I feel like I've received and have had enough to get started, if you will, but not enough to hang myself, not enough to where I can just, not do anything. I can just lounge around all day. Like I still have to produce.
Right.
But it's given me a lot of perspective. And I feel like, in my opinion, a lot of the people that I know of or have seen and observed, they don't have the fire that, for example, Bronson has, or the drive and the determination. I think there's something to be said about, again, when money is abundant, or you receive it, you're given it, it just the drive is not there,
right?
And it's been very inspiring, and I've learned a lot from Bronson, and especially Bronson, being Hispanic in your background.
Believe it or not, guys, I'm not black. Yeah, but so to kind of segue off that, I am like 3/4 Mexican and a little bit of white, but yeah, no one thinks I'm Mexican. So, but anyways, continue.
I'm a quarter Asian.
He is.
Well, so quarter Armenian. So technically, it's an Asia Minor.
Yeah, it's
an Asia Minor.
He is Asian Minor. But yeah, continue. Go ahead.
I think it's very interesting. Hanging out with Bronson and getting to know him more. Of course, we're both the owners, along with Brad Huxley of Vantage Point Landscaping. But just learning, observing, and just seeing the world through a different lens. And I feel like it's really helped me to be more conscious of things and such, and his the struggles he's overcome.
Right. No, definitely.
And I've had my own. They've been different. I struggled with anxiety most of my life, severe anxiety most of my life. Right. And it's taken me years to figure that out. But meditation is the way, by the way, not meds or any of that stuff.
And I would never think that, because he's a great talker. He does great with people. But you never know someone's struggles. Like, a lot of people don't know what I just said right now, because it's no one's business, for one. But it's good for individuals such like ourselves and men to share some stuff sometimes. Look, I know dudes are gonna be like, dude, this dude's lame, but it's cool to be vulnerable sometimes, right? I think it is. Like, I consider myself a man, a man's man, obviously. I work with my hands for a living. And I love jiu-jitsu and MMA and stuff, right? But at the same time, I'm human too. We all got feelings and shit. So it's like, all these people that put on that facade, like I'm the toughest person on the planet, are usually the weakest people. Like they say, the loudest person in the room is usually the one that's the weakest, right? Person who's always talking about the money is usually the poorest, right? It's the people that are low key, And as I've gotten to know Christian even more so, I seen his side, not because he's white, right? But just because, his background. We don't come from the same background. His heart is different from my heart, right? But I think that's why we mesh so well, because we're learning and feeding off each other, and that's why we're able to, do what we do now. And we developed a really good rapport. And I think I know that's why the business we're going to be doing is going to be,
oh yeah,
just going to go off the chart. So, I'm really excited, and we're feeding off each other's good energy. And, I know this kind of all stemmed back from what we talked about with men. It's kind of hard to meet these expectations from these women, or I should say these girls, you know what I mean? Because women aren't going to be sweating you like that. The real ones, I might have dated a girl too in my life. So like for me, I kind of know now. I'm very picky, for those who know, and for those who don't. Long story short, I'm very picky. I've had 3 girlfriends in my life. I'm very picky. I'm not saying haven't gotten to know people during those times, but you got to bring something to the table, and it's not money. Mm-hmm. You can't buy peace of mind. And if I'm around someone, I want peace of mind when I come home. I don't want to be stressing, or someone like, where you at? I'm like, working.
You want a feminine beauty.
Yeah, I don't need, look, I'm all about, and I'll give another shout out to someone, Kristen.
Mm-hmm. Kristen's awesome.
Kristen she's
awesome.
Amazing in every way, shape, and form. The hardest worker I know, one of the hardest working people I know, and she's one of the
so generous.
The generosity.
So generous. One of the most generous people I've ever met.
Yeah, she's awesome, and she's gonna be coming on the podcast too.
Yes, I'm excited to have her on.
She's fun.
She's really awesome.
Yeah, she's a great person, and she actually was the second biggest payroll company that she helps run. So it's pretty awesome. She's amazing, and shout out to her. But yeah, people like her though, they don't expect you to be like, well, you need to pay for this, you need to do that, you better drive this, you better drive that. You don't want to be around those type of people. You want someone that likes you for who you are, and whatever you come with, cool. Like, they accept you for who you are. I mean, you don't want to be a bum. Fellas, like, don't be a bum, be a hustler, grind, work, have something, have a hobby. Like, if you have no kids, have a couple hobbies. If you have a kid or two, just be the best dad you can be. There's nothing that's more attractive than a man that's a wonderful dad. Honestly, I get compliments all the time about how good of a dad I am, and I will toot my own horn. I feel like I'm an amazing dad. I'm hard on my sons, but in the best of way. Like, I play mom and dad. I have to, I have a 8 or soon to be 8-year-old and soon to be 14-year-old. So I'm trying to find a balance, I'm not super like gentle, but you have to find that happy medium for your children. And it is a struggle. It's an everyday struggle. Like, I mess up every day as a father, and it's I'm human, and it's okay. I mean, I'm very hard on myself, but I feel that's a good thing too. I'm like, but you want to have that balance. You don't want to beat yourself up too much, because then you're going to like sit in the corner and be too upset, and you don't want to lose focus on what you're doing. But, but yeah, so I feel like, some of the people that we're actually going to have on here probably be women, actually, more so, because there's a lot of great people that we know, women too. I mean, even Shailene is amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the sharpest ladies that I know.
Yeah, she's super sweet. And she is
very driven, yeah. And we help along with Mike Sanchez, co-founded the Newport Social Group.
Right. So she's awesome, and all these girls are young. They're not even like in their 40s or nothing. They're all like 20s and early 30s. So like, I mean, they're hustlers, they're grinders, and there is a lot of great people out there. There's a lot of great women. There's a lot of great men. There's just a lot of negativity on social media and on podcasts, and people love drama, right? reality TV is not even real reality. It's all scripted. It's like nothing's real anymore. And that's kind of why I like what we're doing, because there is no scripts. We're just talking.
Yep.
I mean, and I love it. And I feel like, people that who's ever watching, they can kind of relate to some of these things. You know what I mean? At least I'm hoping so. But
absolutely, just to touch base on the whole relationship, I think it's fascinating. I heard someone mention about how you think about someone who was 20 years of age in 1950 and 20 years of age today.
Right.
The amount of the opposite sex that they're exposed to, all around the world.
Right.
I mean, whereas in and again, this is from a podcast, 1950, someone's only exposed to people in their physical proximity. Today, you're exposed to people all over the world.
Right.
And obviously, if you're a beautiful woman, you can be flown out like that. You get someone slides to your DM, flying out to Dubai or Monaco.
I know a lot of women that are my friends or acquaintances that tell me these stories, and I'm like, man, I want to fly to Dubai. I'm like, like some of the stuff I hear, and I'm not gonna go too deep into that. It's just wild what some of these dudes be saying, and what they'll do. Like, here's 10 grand, a small flex. That's stupid, To me, that 10 grand can be put into a business, or you can be putting into your car or your home or something, or like and investing in something. Why would you flex like that? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or not. Like, if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't be like, here's 100,000, or I wouldn't give him $1,000. Like, unless you're like my girl or my wife, or I'm interested in you. Like, it's different, but that to me that's silly. But to each his own. And for that girl, that's great. She gets the money.
Yeah.
But I'm not. That's not something I would do. So like especially if girls are like, hey, take me here. You should do this. I'm like, that is such a turnoff. I ain't taking you nowhere unless I want to take you somewhere. Like that's like a red flag number one. Or if girls ask, hey, what do you drive? I mean, it's not like I drive a bucket, and we both drive Audi, so it's not like they're bucket cars, right? But where do you live at? Not with my mom. Well, where do you live at? A 2-story home. Where do you live? Oh, I live with my parents. Then why are you asking me?
Yep.
You don't have a job. You live with your parents. You have a busted whip. You have kids. And then you want me to take you somewhere? Like, man, that's what's wrong with society, because they see all this shit on social media, all these expectations of, this girl's right. They should be doing this for me. Yeah, the real men will take care of real women, right? We're not going to take care of people who are like broke and don't want to like move on into better things in life and grind and just make the best of their life. They're just so like, I need someone to take care of me. The man needs to pay for everything. I'll pay for everything because I love you and I want to grow with you. It's something that's an automatic with me. It's not like because you tell me. The moment someone tells me, see that door right there? You just walk out. Like, I mean, that's just, it's very simple. It's hard to find normality. I was sharing with him a story today that I will not share right now, but it's just how wild some people are, and how selfish people are, and how huge like cheating is. How huge deceit, being deceitful, like being with someone like, oh, I was never married, or I'm not married, or I don't have a boyfriend. Like, I've ran into this several times over the years of being single where they're married and they didn't tell me. Like, they didn't even have a social media, so I didn't even know. Or like, oh, me and my boyfriend broke up, but they still have a boyfriend. Like, it's just wild how it's scary, man. Like, because you don't know if like what's real anymore, And there's like this, I'm going to say it since we were talking about it. There's this unspoken rule when you're getting to know people. Not like dating, but getting to know. Like, say you met someone after a week or two, you've had a drink, and you just text here and there. 9 times out of 10, they're texting 2 other people just like that. Because are you going to catch a line and just catch one fish, or are you going to throw a net and see what's the best? I mean, that's just reality. I'm going to be transparent. I'm transparent with anybody I've ever met that I'm into, because it always gets brought up. So have you ever cheated before? Absolutely. I've cheated. I've done a lot of bad things, but this was years ago with like the mother of my children. She cheated on me. I cheated on her. It was just a really bad relationship off and on for 8 years. And after that, I was like, it just doesn't feel good, right? And it's called karma. Man, has karma got me back tenfold. Like, I mean, a lot in every way, shape, and form. So now that's kind of like over the years, if all these girls are like, has cheated on me. Like, I'm just like, I do all these wonderful things and, you know, being more successful. And like, I'm like, this is like, it's been the worst with women for the past, like, being single since 2017. I've had a girlfriend since then, but everything's been like shit. Every girl I've met, clearly I'm single. Every girl I've met has not been that. There's good people out there, but timing's for one, everything, right? You might meet the best person at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. That's why, like, a lot of guys, right? Because I'm 36, by the way. So a lot of guys like younger women. It's cool. I'm for it, whatever. Meaning, like, you know, 23, 24, that's cool. But, like, for me personally, and I know me and you might have different views on it, like, I feel like you need to get the wiggles out when you're younger. You're going to get drunk, you're going to smoke, or you can do stuff, you're going to be wilding out. I don't even think you should be in a relationship, in my opinion. I think you just need to enjoy yourself, get your shit together, and, you know, do your thing. Because I'm not saying everybody's going to be like that. You know, there's some great people who want to settle down and stuff, but unfortunately, a lot of shit nowadays, because of social media again, has this false narrative and this, it's not real. Even when you're on Instagram and you take a picture, you take the best picture of that moment, right? When people take a picture of the mountains and the ocean, they probably were just like farting all over themselves, bro, and then they just took a nice picture, bro. Like for real, it's like okay, you take the, like, I know girls who be taking like 30 photos and then they'll go through it. Okay, I'm gonna get this one and I'm gonna edit and I'm gonna make sure I have no wrinkles or have no. You know we're gonna see you in person, right? Like, why are you editing the shit out of your photos when you know I'm gonna see you? And, like, don't catfish people, you know? So, but that's my take on all that.
Yeah, it's, I think I saw something, 45% of adults are single.
Really?
I believe that's one of the statistics that I saw.
That's bullshit, because probably 35% of them really are in a relationship. They're lying. I'm just kidding. Well, kind of. but kind of what I was saying is because, like, girls
that was
will say,
Bronson's Gallup poll that he
yeah,
did.
like, because it irritates me. It's like if you have someone in your life, if you're with somebody, stay with them.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, break up with them. Simple. If you want to be single and play the field, do that. Nothing wrong with it. Text people here and there. Whatever's your forte, go for it. But if you're married, have a girlfriend or boyfriend, yo, focus on them. Giving your number out when you're in a relationship, you already cheated.
Yeah.
Simple. A W is a W and an L is an L, right? So a win's a win, a loss is a loss. So what's wrong is wrong. You know, if you're in a relationship and you're texting other dudes, even if it's nothing too crazy, you're cheating. How would you like if your other person did that? Right? And that's coming from someone who did a lot of dumb stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can write a book, maybe.
Oh, I've told him, I said he very much should write a book as it relates to dating and relationships.
Yeah.
Dating in particular.
What not to do and what to avoid. And, you know.
Bronson's 10 iron rules of dating.
Yeah. So I'm no expert at all the best of things. I'm unfortunately good at knowing all the stuff you shouldn't do. And now, you know, I can move forward in my life after these past few years of being single. Like, but that's why I'm single. Like, you know, I am picky now because, you know, I did a lot of dumb stuff and I just really want to be happy and have normality and have people enjoy me with my sons, you know, and go to the basketball games and go, like, out of town, you know, when it's just me and, you know, my significant other, and we can go. It's like this: go out of town, enjoy life, or be a bum at home and watch movies and eat sushi. Like, I just want that. But it's kind of hard because all these girls have these higher expectations. I want this, take me this, buy me this. I'm like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? The more success you have, the more money you have, the more issues you get. You know that, you know. So, but I'd rather, you know, cry in a nice car and a nice home than we have this conversation instead of like being excited in a dirt hole. You know what I mean? So, you know, don't be lazy, don't be complacent. You know, just strive for, you know, everything you want and need.
And you know, another thing to highlight on that is there's so much, and look, I'm not going to pretend that I've made it at all in life by any stretch of the imagination.
You have, bro. You have. Yes, we both have. And I don't want to cut you off, but we both have, and we're going in such a great direction. So I don't want you to like say like you haven't. You definitely have. You just you just want to keep growing even more so. There's no wrong with that.
Yes, exactly. And so much, the environment is the invisible hand that shapes us.
Right.
And we oftentimes are surrounded by loved ones, our parents, et cetera, people in maybe our upbringing and such. And sometimes they don't always have the best, not only advice, they want what's best for you, but they want to keep you where they're at. So I've often gotten flack from family and such, which has always been, ever since I was out of the military, was, hey, go get something, in pharmaceutical sales or something where there's a degree of stability.
Play it safe.
Play it safe, yeah. And I've just, I just have never been like that. And I would rather make $30,000 a year and be my own boss than make $300 million a year and be someone's slave and not have any time. And I'm under the auspices, I'm under the whim of a superior or something. I mean, I think it's something in people's wiring DNA that's, entrepreneurial, that is wanting to be self-employed. Maybe that's the reason why I got out of the military. I did not. Both in the private and public sector, there's a lot of incompetent people, and especially it always freaking amazes me how many people say and do things that put their foot in their mouth. They'll say and do something that leaves a subordinate, so someone obviously that's beneath you, feeling slighted, feeling hurt. Right. I had a boss when I was in Orange County. I was a private lender at the time. Great guy and all in terms of some of the mentorship, but then he'd say some things and I'm just like thinking, okay, dude, you do realize, we work together, A, right. And then B, I'm not just some, average Joe Schmo. I'm fucking high octane, very focused, and I got an ego, like a lot of us do who are very driven, and I don't appreciate being talked that way. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am very diplomatic, sometimes to a fault, and I bring things to people's attention and awareness in a manner that is indirect, or that saves face. So instead of saying, "Hey, you messed up," I might say, "Hey, this is what I find to be the best way to do this in my experience, etc."
Right. So, and you're handling it very well, very mature.
But it always amazes me, different people and all the advice out there. A lot like well-intentioned, but bad advice out there. Right. And I think that whether you don't have two pennies to rub together or you've got it made, the beauty about today is you can go on YouTube, you can go pick up books, you can get a audio book, and you can, even though you might be in the inner city or something, you might not be around success, but you sure as hell can listen to it. And that's what I think is so amazing is today. People forget how freaking lucky we are to live in this country. Yes, it's got its flaws. Yes, it's not perfect.
Right.
But the fact that technically you could come from nothing and go to the public library, you have access to computers and the internet and everything it has access. You have access to books and resources. There's no freaking excuse.
None.
And especially
None
when I think about even like for myself and for other people that I know of, there's no excuse. I almost think it's a crime against humanity to not do what is your birthright, which is to make a dent in the universe.
Absolutely.
Which is to be ultra successful, so you can uplift others. Like they say, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right. No, I agree. It's because this can segue into something definitely deeper when it comes to how lazy society is and how the government, you're either going to be very wealthy or you're going to be very poor. Your majority of people are in the middle.
Yep.
You're screwed.
Absolutely.
You're screwed.
Absolutely.
It's hard, but I tell my sons this, and I can tell grown adults this, is it's supposed to be hard. I tell my sons when they do their push-ups, so my sons do workouts every day when they're with me. It takes 8 minutes, 3 sets of push-ups, 3 sets of calf raises, 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of sit-ups. Drake does 5 sets. Discipline, consistency, So people, and I tell them, like, they're like, man, this is hard. My little one does sometimes. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. You know, trying to be a boss of something and a CEO of something is extremely hard, because when you're doing 9 to 5, you go in and clock out. You're not worrying about the lights. You're not worrying about the water. You're not worrying about the rent. You're not worrying about employees. You're not worrying about payroll. You're not worrying about anything. You're worrying about yourself and just going home, clocking in, clocking out. You don't give two shits. But I'd rather have that problem. Be my own boss, be successful, and deal with those headaches, and still deal with the headache at home. Like, is this it? Because I've been in that position. I'm far from that position now. So, and I'm blessed because of my hard work. And, you know, I give it up to the man upstairs. God's really helped me. And I'm not going to kind of like be too deep in that. But my faith is strong. So, like, you know, you got to have that strong mental fortitude to be like, I got this. Right? But there's a lot of people who aren't. Again, I don't want to, it's like, I don't want to blame social media, right? Because you can use it as a great tool. But there's a lot of negative stuff out there, and people see this facade of fake shit of like, oh, I don't need to do this. I like a lot of these, I'm just saying young women, because it could be men too, but in my experience, young women have this expectations of like, they're owed something. You haven't done anything. What do you mean you're owed this? Like, work for it. You know, it's supposed to be hard. Like, matter of fact, I was talking to a buddy of mine at jiu-jitsu, and he was telling me, or Kale, and we were talking about, he's like, how's business? When I was doing great. And he's like, man, you picked the hardest thing to do. He's all, man, that crap is hella hard to do. I'm like, well, I know, but it's fulfilling to me. You know, working in the sun. I mean, trust me, I don't want to do this no more. After this year, like I said, I'm going to use this instead of these little biceps of mine and start working smarter, right? So, but I like being out there. I don't have to, but I choose to right now because I like being out there. I like, you know, the hard work and the sweat and, you know, being like I'm doing something, you know, I'm being productive, you know, I'm working hard. But he's like, man, you picked the hardest thing to do. But I enjoy it, and it's allowed me to have the really nice things that I have now.
Well, and this ties in with doing things people are unwilling to do themselves.
Right. Yeah, no, blue collar work. No one wants to do it.
I think I mentioned in the last video, you know, I've had kind of a paradigm shift because you know, since getting, you know, out of the Navy, I've been focused on, you know, what you know, the sexy career fields, commercial real estate, et cetera, development, something like that. And I've sort of realized, you know, everyone does the same thing by and large. I feel like it's going to college and getting some white collar profession, right. Whether you're an accountant, a doctor, an attorney.
Which those are all great, by the way.
And those are great. Absolutely. Absolutely. The challenge lies with, it's so congested, the space. Right. There's so many people in it that you're competing with.
Right. When
you can enter a space like, let's say, a blue collar profession and be a white collar professional.
Right. Right.
And I think focusing on the things that people aren't, and they're, you know, it's all not all shiny. You're focused on the dirty stuff. I think that's where the gem's at.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, obviously, I'm in the industry, so
yeah,
I agree with it. But you know, all in all, I think that we're both going in a great direction. I think we both work hard. I think that a lot of great things are going to come out of the things we're doing. And whether it's white collar, blue collar, anything, it's going to be successful because you work hard, I work hard, and you know, I'm looking forward to all the great things. And I do say that a lot, but I love, and he knows this, I love putting a lot of positive things out there. You know, it's just it's the best thing you can do because a lot of people are negative, you know, like, oh, I don't want to do this, or I can't do this. I will never make that amount. I'll never get that car. Well, yeah, you already put a cap and a limitation, a ceiling on what you can do, you know, and you shouldn't do that. Like even my worker, like one of my workers and, you know, good friends, Amadeo, he was just like, man, you be speaking stuff into existence. That'd really be happening, you know? And, you know, it's true though. You say it, it can happen. If you keep saying you're not going to make it, or my relationship's never going to work, or I'm always going to be at this job. Well, your relationship's never going to work. You're always going to be at that job because you always keep complaining and bitching about it. Fix it.
Yep.
Nothing changes if nothing changes earlier in, you know, in the podcast. What I was saying, it's a dog chasing his tail. The same outcome's going to keep happening if you keep doing the same stuff. So establish great relationships. You be consistent, persistent, speak positive stuff into the universe, and, just work hard. I mean, I know it sounds like, I always hear that. Well, because it works. If you work hard and you have a positive attitude, something's going to land. Look, there's always a little bit of stroke of luck in it.
100%.
You can be busting your ass for 10 years, and then nothing changes till the next year. You stayed in that 11th year, and you're making $30,000 a year, and then the following year you start making $1 million because you waited, someone believed in you, and then something happened.
Absolutely. I finished J. Paul Getty's book. For those who aren't familiar with, you ever looked at images and it says Getty Images, or you maybe have been driving through LA, you hear of the Getty Villa. Well, he's one of the richest men back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And one of the things I was reading in his autobiography was there is an element of luck to success.
Absolutely.
But obviously there's hard work. There's several facets to it, but there is a luck. And I think for people to say, well, I've heard some people say, I used to subscribe to it. Well, I create my own luck. I do that. Well, you can have two people working really hard, but there is that variable in there.
Right.
It's like when I was making cold calls when I was in commercial real estate. I may call and get a hold of someone, and the other guy's working just as hard as me, but the other guy the guy when he was trying to call who I was getting a hold of, he's on the line with me,
right?
Or maybe the guy's outside mowing his lawn or something.
Luck.
And so there is that, and. I wanted to mention real quick to the audience in case they aren't doing it, but you mentioned about manifesting and putting it out there, and I'm a huge believer in it. And I actually wrote a list of 100 things that I want to accomplish in life, and I've knocked out some of those things. One of them was publishing a book.
That's awesome.
And I didn't even know what it was going to be on, but I wrote down 100 things I want to accomplish. I really took the time to do it. And then the other thing that I do pretty religiously, I've been doing for the past few years. Now think about this as it compounds. And that's another thing I've realized is the saying, people are a 10-year overnight success, right? How it takes, and it's all these little micro things, all these little micro reps. And then to your point, and then, sometime down the road, because you're both prepared, you have the knowledge, the wherewithal, you take action, a little bit of luck and timing, and then pop.
Right.
And so one of the things that I like to do, and I'm kind of extreme about it with the whole focusing on your objectives, is 3 times a day upon waking up, and then a second time during the middle of the day, and then upon retiring for bed, I write down my objectives. And I write them as if I already possess them. And it sounds super hocus pocus and kind of, fill the woohoo, fill in the blank. But I've noticed a complete over the years, how it changes how you feel. And
Absolutely.
the best time too is also when you're in the car by yourself because no one can hear you and you can just talk. And you might have it. You could be under the weather, but you just start, counting down 5 things you're grateful for, right? You got 5 fingers, so write down every day, what are the 5 things and then you just start saying aloud things that you have going on. It just changes the chemistry in your
Absolutely.
body. You feel better.
Right. And that you're motivating yourself and you're speaking good things to yourself, and you should. I mean, why would you talk bad? But a lot of people do. I can't do this. I don't feel like it. I can't. And then they stop. And again, it all comes back. It's supposed to be hard.
Now here's the thing that's so sad. Now stop and think about it here. I've heard Ed Milet talk about it. He talked about it in his book, and I thought that was a great point. Which is, I kind of look at it as there's like 2 versions of you. Mm-hmm. There's and there's 2 versions of you, and there's a version of you that did exactly everything right, perfect. Now, obviously, that's not humanly possible to be like absolutely perfect, but just imagine if upon no matter your birthplace or socioeconomic status upon growing up, you did exactly the right moves, you knew exactly what to do at the right time to get to where you wanted to be, and then think about where you are right now, yourself in reality.
Right.
And think about what you could have done had you made the ask. Had you taken that chance, had you done that, now think of the life that you are potentially depriving yourself of.
Right.
Like social media, for example, classic example. I knew I needed to have a presence on there. Now, I don't have a massive presence by any stretch of the imagination. However, I recognize that at least having a modicum amount And Bronson's very good at this, in my opinion. I think Bronson is very good with engaging with his audience. And I've actually been inspired by that. And I put part of that in my book because he engages with the viewer. He does videos, whereas most people, they just do the picture. And that doesn't really engage as deeply. But, having a presence on social media, people who are not on it, they are depriving themselves.
Right.
They're depriving themselves. And just as it's been said, this attention economy that we're in, the last century, energy, oil, this century, it's the rise of the individual. Absolutely. And people who are not putting themselves out there. And look, I've kind of exposed myself, so to speak, and I'm sure people have their opinions and such, and I really don't care. But that allows us to be seen, and you, the audience. It behooves everyone to put themselves out there.
Absolutely. Only you can get where you need to go. Your friends aren't going to do it. You just really have to be motivated to get yourself out there and to be successful and to ultimately be happy. So, but that being said, good talk as always.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to the next podcast. I think we're going to have some great people on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so thankful that we're getting this going. And Bronson hit me up earlier. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna hit this out," and I'm like, "Let's do it." And
I'm just in my underwear and t-shirt. Hold on, man, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, bro, too much information. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's gonna be great for the next show. But man, I hope to hear some good feedback from you guys, and we'll be seeing you guys soon.
All right, take care, guys.